Yeah. Yeah. It's the Locker Room on YouTube. You know what it is. Let's get it. Ayy. Locker Room. Yeah, we in the locker room. Texas talk. Yeah, you know what we about to do. Localize. Every angle's what we really do. We the source. We the pulse of the city too. Landlocked. Got the game in the headlock. Localize every time. Can't stop. Won't stop.
DeMeco Ryans speaks, CJ Stroud speaks. They have some interesting things to say, some interesting developments on the practice field as well. It is game week. We got a lot to look forward to with this Texans-Broncos matchup. It is a Locker Room #1 source for Texans digital content. I am Landry Locker, always on the scene. You can hear me, see me here, as well as on SNL Monday through Friday at 6 o'clock. Let's jump right into it. Some good news for the Texans. Christian Kirk and Nico Collins back at practice. Now, what does that mean? What will that look like? How will Nick Caley handle it? That's really the main question. How is this going to be handled by Nick Caley? Is he going to be able to implement both guys? Are they going to be able to are they going to be, is it going to come at the sake of Jalen Noel? I think that's the biggest concern. That's the biggest trust issue. We'll get to trust issues a little bit later on, but Nico Collins is a given. How does Christian Kirk look? What happens to Jalen Noel? What happens to Jaden Higgins? What happens to what we've seen is really the real question. We'll hear from Christian Kirk in a sec. First, though, let's shout out Sleeper, the #1 sports app in the game. It is my scoring app now. I've gotten used to it. Got nothing but love for the app and everything that it provides and everything that it does. And it's become my scoring app, and higher lower is one of my favorite games to play. It makes every game interesting. A game of skill. Very simple. This guy's going to get this many yards. Higher or lower, you can do as many players as you want. Got to be 2 different teams, but it's a lot of fun. If you don't believe me, then here's our treat to you. $20 entry, no deposit needed. At Sleeper, you can also get 100% match up to $100. Use the code LOCKER, and I can promise you, even if you don't want to play, I'm telling you, it is the best scoring app in the game. I saw yesterday, I was watching NBC. NBC was talking about the greatness of Sleeper as well. So it's not just me. It is a big phenomenon. Let's hear from Christian Kirk. Christian Kirk is back at practice. Christian Kirk, I think, has kind of taken the place of someone last year who wasn't too popular. But now it feels like Christian Kirk has kind of taken that place. Let's hear from Christian Kirk. We caught up with him in the locker room, what he had to say. He and Nico Collins back at practice. We know what to expect from Nico. We really don't know much from Christian Kirk around here. Here's what he had to say, though.
Feeling? How's everything going? You feel ready to go Sunday?
Yeah, just going to progress throughout the week. So far, feeling good. Just happy to be back out there.
When you watch all the other guys get it going like they did as you're watching, you kind of envision like how you fit into that with keeping those guys going and you at the same time?
Sure. I think it's something that's really encouraging and shows the depth of our room of just those guys being able to step up and to do the most and take advantage of their opportunities. All guys that can do a range of different things on the field, and I think they were all able to display that on Sunday. So definitely excited to get back in the mix. Me and Nico get back out there and just continue to add, a bit of the explosive piece and keep showing what our room can do.
Christian, CJ talked about how with you all back and with the way that these guys have progressed, that you can take it to another level. What could you envision what the receiving core can be like?
Yeah, I just think one that complements, one another. I think we all bring a different skill set to the room and to the offense, and so just playing amongst one another, having a bunch of fun, playing with confidence, playing fast. You see the ability to be able to stretch the field, make the catches over the middle. I think we all kind of have a little bit of that, so it's just, complementing one another.
How did you feel today, and was it the same re-injury or was it a different leg?
I felt good. The injury process has, been going smooth, especially with this one. And, obviously it was an unfortunate thing, but like I said, I've been able to bounce back pretty quickly and looking forward to just, progressing throughout the week and hopefully get out there and feel my best on Sunday.
All right, that's Christian Kirk. It is the Locker Room, number one source for Texans digital content. Shout out to everyone in the chat. So I wanted to start this show off talking about trust. I think trust is very important for fans. I think it's important for coaches. I think there's different layers of it. But for the sake of this is going to be more about discussions of what do you trust when it comes to this Houston Texans team. We are right here. We are 7 games into this thing. What do you trust about the 2025 Houston Texans? Is there some things that maybe you thought you would trust that you don't? Is there some things that you didn't think you trust that you do? What do you trust about this Houston Texans team? I think you trust the defense. You trust them to play well. But do you trust the defense to stay elite? Right now, this defense is performing at an elite level. Do you trust this defense to stay elite? For me, yes, I do. I trust this defense to stay elite. The problem that this defense is going to run into is if this offense continues to be inconsistent and this offense continues to wet the bed and lay an egg against good teams, they're going to have to be asked to do too much. And that's reality, but it also can be a problem because even some of the most elite defenses, they need a little bit of help from the offense. So I do trust this defense to stay elite, but there's always the but because it might not be enough. They're a 3-4 football team right now, and the defense is elite. And if Baltimore and San Francisco weren't beat up, we might be talking about a 1-win team right now. I talked about that earlier on SNL. If you think about it, we could be talking about a 1-win team right now, which is a damn shame. Given where they are in their process, given what the investments have been, it'd be kind of a damn shame for that to be the case. But that's the reality of the situation and really just kind of how crazy this thing is. The Denver game is going to, I don't know if it's a make or break season. I do think if you get up to 500 with the opportunity in front of you, things could get very interesting for this squad. And they could have a massive opportunity to right the ship, clean the slate, get a fresh start, and maybe figure some stuff out. But I do trust the defense to stay elite. Do you trust that CJ Stroud's best football is ahead? Do you think the best is ahead for CJ Stroud? Or do you think as soon as they play a good team like Denver, they kind of fall back into their old ways and we see CJ Stroud struggles? That's a realistic question to ask. And CJ Stroud knows better than anyone that Denver, they might not have Patrick Surtain. They lead the league in sacks by 10. They have 36 sacks this year. CJ Stroud knows he's up for a challenge.
Starts on their edge, with Benito and, Coop. They do a good job, of playing relentless and, just they don't give up. They play really tough, and the interior, they have really good interior guys as well. So they're a really good D-line.
Yeah, they're a real good D-line. And the Texans' offensive line is not great. Hadn't been great against good teams. This is gonna be a big challenge. And maybe I'm sure Surtain helps the D-line, but the D-line's still really, really good. Like, is this going to be a roller? Is this going to be like a seesaw where it's bad game when you play a good team and then good team against a bad team? And we hear about all these things. Like, what is this going to look like? I don't know that CJ Stroud. I think the worst is perhaps behind him. I don't know about the surroundings, and I don't know about it. His vibe does seem up, though. His vibe does seem very much up, though. There's zero doubt about that. Now, there is something to keep an eye on, and there is something to monitor, though. And we've talked about who did practice. The one guy who didn't practice was Dalton Schultz. And Dalton Schultz has gone from probably the guy that fans were most pissed off at last year to one of the more important players on the team. Now, there's a combination of things as to why this is. Number one, he's playing better. There's no doubt. Dalton Schultz is playing much better this year than he did last year. And number two is you're very thin at tight end. They just signed Dalton Keene to the practice squad. They lost someone to another practice squad or roster, whatever. And right now you're really thin at tight end. Dalton Schultz, you can make a case that he is one of the top 3 most important skill guys on this team. You make a strong case. Because the receivers, obviously, Nico Collins is at the top. Joe Mixon doesn't count because he's not there. But there's depth at wide receiver. Like if one of the guys misses, like you can have someone step up and figure something out, and you can adjust accordingly. Like if Dalton Schultz is out, what are you going to do? You got Harrison Bryant. Jakob Johnson returned to practice today. He's working out with the fullbacks and the tight ends. That was an observation I had. British Brooks is strictly fullback, but Jakob Johnson worked out with the fullbacks, running backs, and then he sprinted with the quarterbacks to work out at tight end. So he's kind of like your emergency guy. You don't want him as one of your top tight ends. Like in a very short time, Dalton Schultz has gone from perhaps the most hated guy on this roster, I would say, just based on what I saw. And really, he sucked last year. Might have been reasons, might have been banged up. But he's gone from that to one of the most important. And yes, the fact that the position is depleted does factor into that, but that's still what it is. Dalton Schultz is one of the most important guys on this offense. And I'll ask the question here. You can put it in the chat, put it in the comments. If I asked you this question of fill in the blank, old school fill in the blank, Dalton Schultz is the blank most important offensive weapon. When I say weapons, I'm talking running backs, wide receivers, tight ends. If I asked you this, where would you say Dalton Schultz fits in? And I could see a trade for a tight end being something that they definitely want to do. But at the moment, with the state of this roster, Dalton Schultz is the blank most important offensive weapon. 3, 2. I would say probably third. I would say third. I would say it's Nico, Woody Marks, and then Dalton Schultz. I like Noel too. I don't know if I trust that to be consistent. And even then, if you don't have Noel, maybe you have Kirk. Don't know. Kind of depends if he doesn't have a soft tissue injury or not.
Captain Kirk, can you save me? Captain Kirk, I want to have your back.
I would say Nico Collins. I would say Woody Marks, and then I would say Dalton Schultz. I would say he's third. And that's as much of an indictment on the roster as it is praise of Dalton Schultz. So there is a yeah, but to that. But that's just kind of where we've arrived, and that's where they're at. Now, I will say this, and I don't want to speak for you people, and I do mean you people, but it does kind of feel like Christian Kirk, there's a little bit of frustration with Christian Kirk. And it feels like 2025 Christian Kirk has replaced 2024 Dalton Schultz as the offensive player, the offensive skill guy, the CJ Stroud weapon that generates the most frustration among the fan base. There does appear to be a development that has happened. Last year, people couldn't stand Dalton Schultz. A lot of people couldn't stand Dalton Schultz. I didn't see many defenders. This year, a little bit of frustration with Christian Kirk. Can't stay on the field. Maybe it's not his fault. I don't know that people really care. But they've kind of flipped. I don't know how this ends for Christian Kirk. Like, is he all of a sudden going to be healthy down the stretch and bleed in nicely? If Christian Kirk goes out there on Sunday and he plays, let's say he plays 80% of the snaps and Jalen Noel's in the 30s, and the Texans lose and you don't see Jalen Noel, that's going to be frustrating. can be frustrating for a lot of people. We know that this offensive staff appears to lean vet. It's cool that the rookies are involved right now. The vets weren't playing. That's not like it's something you've been asking for when fully healthy, and now all of a sudden you get it and you just don't go. And I don't mean to. I mean this is just a reality of the Nick Caley experience early on. Which brings me back to the question about Nick Caley. Do you trust Nick Caley to improve? Do you trust that you can trust Nick Caley? Because right now, nobody trusts Nick Caley. Nobody trusts Nick Caley. Nobody should trust Nick Caley. He hadn't done anything to earn trust. It's early in the process. But do you trust him to improve? This is going to be an opportunity for him to show that he can improve. He's got a pretty healthy offense. I don't know if there's too many teams that can say this. I know the tight end position, that sucks. But, I mean, we're talking about Cade Stover and Brevin Jordan. It's not like they're missing Owen Daniels or something like that. That's normal NFL banged up at this point in the season. But do you trust Nick Caley to improve? I think the answer is no right now. And I just wonder, like, this week-to-week stuff that we always hear about, does it go too far? I don't know how to feel about this Blake Fischer tackle eligible thing. I'll be honest. I feel like it might be a good strategy for what this offensive line is, where you're blocking with 6, you don't have as many receivers, but it just kind of is what it is. And in a perfect world, you're not doing it, but in a realistic world, that's what you have to do. John Harris has been bringing this up, and I'm going to keep bringing this up because he's the only person I've heard say it. He's been bringing this up since week 1 that he would like to see this, and we're seeing a hell of a lot of it. So I would be interested to see what in the hell this looks like over the long term. And I'll even say the short term, the next 3 weeks. The next 3 weeks where it was laid out after the 0-3 start that they need to go 5-5. Going to be favored in all 3 of these ball games, it looks like. You're favored against Denver. You're going to be favored against Jacksonville. You're going to be favored against the Colts. So if you go by, if it's chalk, then you're talking about a 6-4 football team. All bets are off at that point. You're probably on the inside of the playoff picture. If you win the next 3 games, you're on the inside of the playoff picture. And you're setting up for your 2 games with Indianapolis, Kansas City, Buffalo. Like, you got 4 games right there. And then you're going to have to, you'll be done with the Titans and the Jags. And you'll be set up decently. They're favored to do that if you follow the money. They're favored to win those games, just like they were against San Francisco. They're favored. But this one cannot be minimized. But I just wonder, does this thing work? Or is this just a little bit of a fad? I want to see what it looks like against Denver and their D-line, but I am intrigued to see if this is something that lasts for a while. We caught up with Blake Fischer today, asked him how it feels to be in this role. Blake Fischer had this to say. He had some jokes too.
So how are you liking the new role? What's it like? You used to pretty much starting and playing through. What's the new role like? How's it treating you?
It's good. Just whatever they want me to do, whatever they ask me to do, I'm going to do. For the betterment of the team.
Is there anything extra when they're announcing your name 26 times during the game?
No, not really. I don't even really hear it. Honestly, I just, just report. I know I got to do that to make sure there's no, problems, flags, or penalties, and then from there it's just locking on what the play is.
Do you give the officials a heads up, like, hey, this isn't just one time. Like, I'm going to be here a bunch?
Yeah, they kind of come to me before the game, just to make sure we're on the same page, because they know we do it, often, so it's just about just communicating with them and making sure they see me when I come into the game.
Are there techniques, are there pieces of what you're doing that are different than when you're at offensive tackle that change or that you have to work with?
No, everything pretty much is just the same, really. Pass blocking, run blocking. Sometimes you can be at the point of attack. Sometimes you be on the backside. It just depends on where you're at. We got some shifts and motions in there, too, that I got to be aware of as well. So, it's kind of all like, yeah, I got to listen to the whole play call really now, more so than just kind of towards the end of it.
And you just got to be basically on standby with the coach, basically following around.
Yeah, just whenever the 21 personnel, the jumbo personnel comes up, you know, I'm running in there.
When did they first kind of bring this idea up to you, and what was kind of the reaction?
I don't know, whenever the first time we did, I can't remember, what was that, Tennessee, maybe? First time I think we started. And then from there, like, we just, you know, been putting in more plays, kind of different wrinkles and such. But yeah, Coach Caley, I mean, he's a wizard, man. He be doing a lot of different things, him and Coach Pop.
And how does it feel that the staff and your teammates are kind of entrusting you in this new role?
Yeah, I mean, it's great. Like I said, you know, whatever I can do, you know, to be, you know, help for the team, you know, I'm going to do. You know, we have a really good team. You know, good competition this week in the Broncos, so just going to go out there and compete every time.
Can you catch?
Yeah, for sure. For sure.
All right, so he can catch. That's what he said. He has to drop the little no diddy in there at the end. I think Stoots edited it out. He didn't want to play around with that. Pause. Joseph T says, I trust Caley will have a new run game. Okay. I don't know. My fears, like if you ask me my fears about Nick Caley, I think they might try to run the ball too much. I don't think it's going to be as easy as it was against San Francisco. So I could see them running the ball too much. And that was always something that I thought O'Brien would do, another Patriot guy. So that kind of concerns me a little bit. And I also don't know that he can keep the rookies going with Christian Kirk. Those are my concerns. Other injuries to report, Jalen Petrie limited with a foot. DeMeco Autry not practicing. I could see him not practicing at all, like as limited as possible. And Laken Tomlinson, they said he needed rest. He played 54% of the snaps. Juice Scruggs played 46. So the half game, he needed some rest. So just imagine if he played the full games. I don't know. I don't trust Nick Caley at all. I don't think anyone really should trust Nick Caley. The other thing is, do you trust DeMeco Ryans, fresh off of beating Kyle Shanahan and out coaching Kyle Shanahan, even though they were shorthanded? Do you trust DeMeco Ryans to get the job done? One of the underrated aspects about the Denver Broncos is actually their run game. J.K. Dobbins is having a hell of a year, and they just got Harvey going. He had a couple touchdowns. So their rookie, you like the rookie running back here in Woody Marks. Harvey was another guy that a lot of draft nerds were kind of intrigued that perhaps the Texans could utilize. Well, Sean Payton, he's got a reputation for utilizing multiple backs. Feels like he might be finding that rhythm, and that is something that DeMeco Ryans respects about the Denver team that's coming to NRG on Sunday.
It's going to start with containing their run game. That's where they hang their hat on the run game. So we have to do a great job of setting edges, tackling well. They have two really good backs. And then with Bo Nix, what he does a really good job of, and the coaches have put him in a really good position to get on the edge. He's using his athleticism a lot to get on the edge on a lot of their keeper plays. If it's not there, he doesn't like it. He has the athletic ability to escape the pocket up the middle through the A and B gaps. So we have to be very sound in how we're rushing him, especially our defensive tackles. We have to rush with awareness because he's a very athletic kid who's made a few explosive plays when he's able to not just escape the pocket running, but he's also made some nice throws as well, escaping the pocket. So it's going to take everybody to continue to be locked in and disciplined in our coverage, disciplined in our rush lanes, because he can go anywhere.
Okay, so he has a lot of respect, and he doesn't really hide it when he really respects something. He respects the hell out of that run game. We also brought this up yesterday, and I want to know if the Texans can have a table for two. I'll explain that in a sec. I've kind of brought this up before, but I dove a little bit deeper into it, and it's kind of fascinating. Like one of the areas that the Texans have invested the most in, I'm not saying that they're not getting the return on investment. I'm just saying I would like to see these guys sit together at the dinner table on the same day a little bit more often. We'll get to that in a sec, but the history between DeMeco Ryans in Sean Payton, I think is an interesting one. 7 matchups, 4 as a player, DeMeco as a player, 3 as a coach, 2 as a position coach, 1 as a head coach. So he should know Sean Payton pretty well. I asked him.
Well, I've gone against Sean Payton 7 times, I think 4 times as a player, 3 as a coach. Is there anything unique or special or difficult about preparing for a Sean Payton team?
The most difficult thing about Sean Payton's offense is it's a high volume of offense. So you're going to see a ton of different plays, a lot of variety. He does a great job of, whether it's using the quarterback in some zone read type plays, getting in a wildcat, using his receivers on jet sweep. It's a ton of variety. So you really have to trust your rules. You have to trust your techniques, things you worked from OTAs and training camp. He's going to test all of your rules. So you have to have elite eye discipline, and you have to be exactly where you're supposed to be. It's really a rules, be where you're supposed to be, a disciplined matchup, because he's going to test every single thing that we've had, any issue plays that have come up. He does a great job of attacking it to see if you cleaned up those issues. So we'll get a heavy dose of a lot of different plays.
No, and that's always been the strength that Sean Payton has. Like when like we say this every week, and then we haven't seen it as much. But, when we sit there and we say we don't understand why teams don't attack, and by we, I mean me. I think some of you may agree, but don't understand why teams don't attack Jalen Petrie more in coverage. Sean Payton's going to do that. Sean Payton's 100% going to do that. So that's really what you need to keep an eye on. Like, where does he think the Texans are weak? I mean, there's little snippets here and there. I will say that there might be potential for the quarterback to run, maybe. Maybe he thinks that this could be an Ingram game, an Evan Ingram game. Evan Ingram, who was top 5 in the league in catches not too long ago, a few years ago. Sean Payton likes to get the tight ends involved, but he's gonna attack your weaknesses. That's the one thing about Sean Payton that he is going to do. So whatever you think the weaknesses are of the Texans defense, Sean Payton has a really good idea of what it is as well, and Sean Payton's going to attack it, and he's going to do so very, very aggressively. So that's something that they're really, really going to have to be aware of. And then if it does happen, they're going to have to adjust accordingly and make sure that they don't allow it to happen too much, because Sean Payton will attack. He's not going to hesitate to do so. And they have some interesting weapons with Ingram. I've always liked Ingram perhaps a little bit more than most people do, but I think that that's going to be something that Sean Payton may try to take advantage of. Now, again, thought George Kittle was going to eat too. Wasn't really taken advantage of by Kyle Shanahan. And they weren't really on the field very much. And that's the other thing. Like, if you're going to have the ball for 40 minutes, there's only so much that the opposing team is going to be able to do. That's not going to be normal. I mean, we'll probably go the rest of the season without the Texans having the ball for 40 minutes in a game. Like the San Francisco win, it wasn't a recipe. It was a hell of a win. Like if you can do what the Texans did and have the ball for 40 minutes, great. You're not going to lose too many games. But that's not the norm. This game is going to look a lot more like the Rams game, the Buccaneers game, perhaps the Seattle game. Although I don't think there's like a JSN that's going to eat you alive. But that's what it's going to look like. It's going to look a lot more like that than the San Francisco game. Bo Nix is a better quarterback right now than Mac Jones. Mac Jones is beat up, by the way. He's clearly playing hurt. You got to trust the Texans defense a little bit, but it's really going to come down to the offense and specifically the offensive line. That's something that you'll have to keep a close eye on when it comes to that. I like to keep a close eye on my backyard, and I look at it in an aberration because I have Texans turf. I wanted turf. I shop for turf. I almost didn't want turf after I shot from it because I just assumed that every turf company was run by a complete unprofessional slime ball who just wanted to rip me off and give you a weird feeling, try to upsell you. I went through damn near half a dozen before I finally said, okay, I'm going to give this one more shot. I've heard good things about this Texans turf guy, strong recommendation, and I'll be damned. Dan came through with his team. He gave me an estimate. He didn't try to upsell me, and it's the best thing that I've done for the crib. Customized, drainage, no mud, no insects, always green, always clean, putting greens, play areas. He's got you covered. No job too big, and he gets the job done, and it's a hell of a squad. So do what I did. I shopped for you. Trust me, if you shop, there's a chance you just say, F this. I'm going to have mud and all that crap in my backyard. Nah. Texans Turf, I did it for you. TexansTurf.com. Let Dan do for you what he did for me. I promise you, you will not regret it. So DeMeco Ryans and Sean Payton, they got a history. You heard him talking about Sean Payton. Something that DeMeco did today that I thought was interesting. I don't know if y'all caught this, but DeMeco Ryans gave pretty detailed injury updates. It wasn't paranoid. Didn't seem like he was acting too patrioty. I don't know. It was normal. I mean, even the answers that he's given, they're normal. It seems like the paranoia is gone. DeMeco's feeling it. If you don't believe me, just watch. Shout out to Trinidad James. But here's an update on Nico Collins and concussion protocol.
Nico is technically still in the under the concussion protocol. We're expecting him to clear in the next few days.
There you go. Don't listen to Caserio. Don't go up there looking like Bill Belichick. How about Dalton Schultz? How about this?
Yeah, Dalton didn't go today, but we're expecting to get him back as the week goes on. He's doing well, progressing just fine.
There you go. You don't have to do the Caserio crap. Don't let him rub off on you. You don't have to worry about that. Good job, DeMeco. I like that. It's good stuff right there from old DeMeco. That's awesome. We're great. Love it. We'll hear from CJ Stroud in a second, but I want to ask this question. Can Danielle Hunter and Will Anderson please get a table for two? Joe Flacco, the other day, he had that viral quote where he was talking about eating alone at a restaurant, and it kind of generated like internet discussion where people were saying, oh, yeah, I can go eat alone at a restaurant. I can go to the movies alone. Or people say, Jamar Chase said, hell no, I ain't going to eat alone at a restaurant. Like, it generated discussion. It feels like Danielle Hunter and Will Anderson, they eat alone a lot on Sundays. Despite the fact you've invested as much as you have on the edge. And I know these guys are elite. So maybe this is harsh grading by me, but it didn't feel like these guys they go off at the same time very often. So I started thinking, well, you know what? I'm just gonna look this up and see how often Danielle Hunter and Will Anderson go off and at the same time, and what the result is from a team perspective whenever that happens. What is that? What does it look like when they do that? So I looked it up. Will Anderson and Danielle Hunter have both had a sack 7 times in the last 2 seasons. 7 times in the last 2 seasons, they've had a sack in the same game. Texans are 5-2 when both get sacks. And not only are they 5-2 when both get sacks, if you look at the 2 losses were kind of late game meltdowns. One of the losses was the Green Bay game last year where, God, Bobby Slowick, that was his low point. That was the beginning of the end for old Bobby.
Damn it, Bobby.
That was terrible. And then the other one was this year, and it's only happened once this year, where Baker Mayfield did what he did, and Tampa Bay ended up winning the game. They're 5-2. September 16th, 2024 against Chicago. We all remember that. 1.5 sacks each. October 13th, 2024 at New England. Anderson had 3 sacks. Hunter had 1. W. October 20th, 2024, the previously mentioned Green Bay game. 1 each. 1 week later, versus Indianapolis. Hunter with 2, Anderson with 1. W. 11-24-24 versus Tennessee. Hunter with 3, Anderson with 2. They're feasting. And then December 15th, 2025 against Miami, coming off the bye week. Hunter with 1.5, Anderson with 1. And then this year, it's only happened once, September 15th, Hunter with 2, Anderson with 1 L. When are these guys going to go off at the same time? I mean, that's a lot of investment. You gave Danielle Hunter an extension. There's a chance he's one of the 6-7 highest paid edge guys next year. Will Anderson's about to get paid. I don't know what the impact is of the Hutchinson deal for Will Anderson. It can't be bad. I don't think he's going to get as much as Hutchinson. He's not as good of a player, but it can't be a bad impact for him. So congrats. But my question is, when are these guys going to start eating at the same time? You're 5-2 with 2 meltdowns as the only 2 losses that really weren't y'all's fault. I'm tired of hearing about advanced stats from a guy that you paid the highest price free agent that you've ever brought in Danielle Hunter, and a guy that you traded 3 premium draft picks and more for to go up and get. That's cool. They got advanced stats, but go out there and eat. Go out there and both get a sack. 5-2 when it happens. I know it's a lot to ask of the defense, but you got to. Sometimes these guys got to carry you. There hasn't been a lot of times where they've carried the Texans this season. Not against good teams. Will tried against Seattle. He tried. He had the strip sack. Maybe it's too much to ask. But Danielle was a non-factor in that game. You didn't get much from him. Table for 2, please. Table for 2. Let's hear from CJ Stroud, as well as a little bit more from DeMeco. Here's CJ Stroud. I asked him about the deep ball. He's got good chemistry with Jalen Noel. We've noticed this. I asked him why that is. Here's what he had to say.
It feels like y'all have pretty good chemistry on the deep ball early on. What do you think is going into that?
Just practice, and I think natural, God-given ability, maybe able to throw it and then they're able to track it and catch it. So a little bit of both, but I think, we've got some good looks with a couple deep throws, and it's just us being on the same page.
Yeah, and I think that that's something that they've got to have. It's an element that has been missing, and it's an element that exists very, very quickly. So they've got to figure that out. Now, another interesting thing for CJ Stroud, I don't know what this is like from a QB POV. I mean, maybe it doesn't impact things too much, but the Blake Fischer thing, what does CJ Stroud think about that? It's different for sure.
Yeah, it's great. I'm happy Blake's out there, being able to get some reps in, and it gives our team an advantage, I think, in certain ways. We buy some in the run game, so I buy some in the pass protection. So having another, tackle out there. So I think he does a really good job.
Okay. Yeah. So he's okay with it. What if this thing has like a long shelf life? Won't it be the damnedest thing? Isn't that crazy? Like if Blake Fischer becomes one of the pieces that kind of turns around this offense, and we look back at this and we say, man, you remember on what's the day, the 29th, 28th, 26th, on October 26th. Damn. October 26th, when Blake Fischer played 26 tackle eligible snaps. Man, that was a big turning point for the Texans. That was a big turning point. It was huge. I would sign up for that, but it would actually be like one of the more damnedest things that could happen. But it is kind of a good adjustment. Like, I don't know if it's like a common sense type thing. I don't know if there's like really. I just follow this team. Like, I watch every play. I follow the league, but I don't follow the league enough to where, unless they're playing the Texans that week, I don't know who's running the most tackle eligible plays. Like, I don't follow it like that. Like, I don't know that. Like, if the Broncos were doing it, I would know it because I dive into that. But it can't be that common to do. And you can make a case that it really makes a lot of sense. It really just kind of makes a lot of sense. If you can't block their guys, bring in an extra tackle. I just don't know. Does this limit what Blake Fischer has to do? Like, are we going to get to a point though where Blake Fischer could perhaps get exposed? Because it was ass ugly in camp. It was bad. Like, it was borderline unplayable. It was ass ugly. So, like, is it getting limited? Is it going to be able to be hidden? That's something that I really don't have the answer to. I bet it's a little bit easier because you're just kind of the extra guy. But he says it's not different. If it's not different, I mean, it's different because he wasn't on skates this past week. So how long do they continue this thing? I mean, because it would be the damnedest thing if this continued. Here's DeMeco on.
We've used Blake a lot as our jumbo tight end, just trying to get a bigger body there on the edge of the line of scrimmage, whether we're running the ball or throwing the ball. I feel like he can do a great job of blocking some of these elite edge players. So that's why we use that a lot. And I think he's done a good job of it. He's gotten better, and we're kind of spicing up the variety of things that we do within that package.
Yeah. The variety of things. Could they be throwing out of it? Could they be running reverses out of it? Could it be something that we see even more? Do we see 26 more snaps from Blake Fischer? Does Blake Fischer become like a fan favorite? Like, does Blake Fischer become like a pivotal piece of this whole thing? Do they overdo it? Do they overdo this thing to where it's just too much? I don't know what to make of it, but I'm intrigued. It's an interesting element. It's a hell of a storyline, given what we've seen from Blake Fischer. And this is going to be a hell of a game. Tomorrow's one of my favorite days of the week. So we got a couple things. We got Nick Caley. He's going to speak. Nick. It's probably going to be a little bit smoother than last week. Last week, we were talking QB sneak. And then we saw QB sneak. So I can't bitch about that. Can't bitch about the clock management. It's going to be a good one for Caley. I think my question will probably center around the challenge of getting all the receivers going at the same time. That will be one of the questions for sure. Like, there seems to be like a little bit of a challenge, and there's kind of trust issues with him in getting that to go. How do you make that happen? Get into that. Maybe the balance of not running the ball too much or feeling when you can't run the ball. Nick Caley actually gives good answers. It's kind of like Slowick. I thought Slowick gave good answers. Now, sometimes he kind of made himself look crazy by some of the answers that he made. But I don't trust Nick Caley, but he's coming off a good game. He's coming off a good game. We'll also hear from Frank Ross for the first time since the incident.
How did you arrive at the decision to go with Berrios at punt return instead of Knoll?
I don't think there's a decision to go with anybody. I think we
got to talk to Frank about that. He's my guy. I do think that there's maybe a different element of that to where it's not Frank's decision. So maybe it wasn't really his decision to go with Berrios in the first place. Maybe. Perhaps. Oh, you tell me. What do I know? And then Matt Burke. I really don't have much for Matt Burke. To be honest with you. I don't have much for Matt Burke. Not really a sometimes there's something there, sometimes there's not. I still look at it as DeMeco's defense. So that's where we're at. It's gonna be fun. What do we got? 1, 2, 3, 4 sleeps till the game. Feels like this week's going by slow. Yeah, last week went by fast. We did have 2 games though, from Monday to Sunday. But this one's going. It's fine. It feels like when it goes by fast, it goes by fast for everyone. When it goes by slow, it goes by slow for everyone. You are pretty much on the same clock as me when it comes to how to cover the squad. So tomorrow's coordinator day. They move practice up to 11:30. Friday will be a 10:30 practice. That will be locker room stuff, and we'll figure out what's going on there. Shout out to Sleeper again. I'm not kidding. You really, really should take advantage of the free 20. And you really, really should use it as your scoring app. I'm not just saying that, I promise you. $20 entry, no deposit needed. 100% match up to $100 on the higher lower. And if you don't even want to do that, just do me a favor. Download it and use it as your scoring app. I know you're used to the 4-letter scoring app. It's ass. They don't do anything anymore. They don't even follow the games. It's next level when you're following scores on this. They also have like a timeline for your teams. It's the best sports app in the game. 4 years from now, you'll be looking back saying, damn, I remember that first started. This thing's taking over the game. Sleeper, and it's just the start. So if you don't feel like you want to play DFS, daily fantasy, whatever, even if it's free, I think that's crazy. But just trust me, if you don't want to do that, download the app and use it for scores. It's great. Promise you. Appreciate y'all for rolling through. Be sure to subscribe. Be sure to like. Be sure to ride along. Be sure to join SNL at Spanky's. We will be there on Friday at 3 o'clock. We'll be there 3 to whenever. Little Halloween happy hour feast with the homemade dough, the homemade sauce. Man, I can already taste that pizza right now. I throw the basil on. My mouth is literally watering. And then I'm thinking about the wings, the chicken Alfredo lasagna, oh my gosh. Give me a beer. Oh, can't wait. Hope to see y'all there as well. Appreciate you. We got a lot of gift cards too, by the way. Appreciate y'all for rolling through. Subscribe, like, ride along. Always remember when it comes to this Texan stuff, we're all in it together. Let's go.
Can't stop, won't stop. Yeah, we top 2 and we not 2. Plugged in daily digital on YouTube. We got taste for days. Opinions to give, we got takeaways. If it's up, then it's up. We number 1. You don't need to try your luck. Locker room, yeah, we in the locker room. Texas talk, yeah, you know what we about to do. Localize every angle.